Hello, my name is Daniel Ross, and today on A Load of BS on Sport with myself and Dan Biggar, we welcome someone who knows what it feels like to stand on an Olympic podium, Commonwealth, European and World too, and what it feels like when the lights go out after. It's badminton champion Gail Emms.
The Olympics, it was survival at times. Got £5 million being funded on you, riding on one tournament. Anything can happen in sport, as we know. If you do not achieve that medal, your whole sport cuts. That's how brutal it is. I'm really tired and I hate everything about everything. Those shuttlecocks hurt.
I've got no doubt those cocks hurt, so no problem.
Dan Biggar, firstly, as always, how are you doing?
I'm doing okay, Daniel. We've had some really good weather in the south of France, so the tan is taking a bit of a hiding, to be honest. I'm a little bit sort of sunned out, to be honest, but I'm good. Got Alex, my wife, has got some family over, one of who actually is a big fan of the pod, Ricky Thomas. I thought I'd give him a shout out, who listens every week, sends me a message every week on the pod. So he spent a week basically giving some suggestions and basically wanting to come on the pod and be a guest, but we haven't quite he hasn't quite got the pedigree that we're looking for, Daniel.
A shout out to Ricky anyway. Great to have you as part of the gang. I heard you had made your debut on the Egg Chasers YouTube channel for Division 2 French rugby on the weekend.
I did, yeah. We were covering Montauban against Brive. Courtney Laws, friend of the show, who came on a few weeks ago. His star-studded Brive ended up getting done over. So it was I enjoyed it.
Yeah, next step to do it in French.
Next steps, yeah, maybe next season could be in French. What about you, Daniel? What have you been up to?
Well, usual weekend antics. I'm very well. The sun is shining. My shout out, by the way, is that obviously we publish our podcast on Spotify, Apple, and all the usual places, but we also publish it on Substack. And what I'm going to start doing is doing a little extra deep dive on our podcasts on the Substack channel, which is aloadofbs.substack.com. So the first one I'm going to publish tomorrow, by the way, is a little deep dive and some extra bonus thoughts and content on our Todd Martin conversation. And I'm going to do the same with Gail subsequently. And then I think, I'm going to hack back into the archive and just try and tell a few extra stories about some of the amazing conversations we have. So that's been on my mind. I'm going to set that up very soon and get the one out on Todd in the coming days.
Who's the one you're going to go back to, Daniel, and really dive into? Give us one quickly.
I think I might go back to Sia Khaleesi. I really liked. Gabby Logan was great. Andrew Strauss, Alistair Cook. There are so many really cool ones. And I think, we capture so much in an hour. And I think I'm going to really enjoy just pausing, going back over the recordings and just having a little think about what were some of the things, drawing out some of the key learnings, like you do as well on your LinkedIn posts. I just thought it'd be fun to do a bit of extra writing on it and share a bit more with the listenership. So that's the plan.
Absolutely.
Anyway, Gail Emms, Olympic silver medalist. She's been a big advocate, I know, for athlete well-being. I think we'll talk a bit about that because that's something that she definitely struggled with after her retirement. And now, by the way, I think we're going to be talking to her from a pickleball tournament because pickleball of this year is her latest, I dare not call it a hobby. I think she's playing at some kind of professional level. So it's been interesting to hear what role pickleball is playing in her life. But I think, Dan, that some of the really interesting parts of the story are going to be about her identity and her struggles and her resilience. And what really happened to her after she retired, which I think was after the Beijing Olympics in 2008. And I think, it's that question, what happens when the thing that once defined you no longer does? And I suppose that's a notion that I suspect resonates strongly with you as well, where you are in your career.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I found myself in a little bit of a rabbit hole on pickleball on YouTube over the last couple of days, knowing that we've had sort of Gail coming up. So that's been sort of the last couple of days in my YouTube search history. And I've got no doubt we'll share lots in common as we chat through retirement and finding identity.
Absolutely. Let's get her in. welcome to you, Gail Emms. And I see that you are in sunny Mallorca. How are you?
Well, you say sunny Mallorca. I'm actually hiding under a fire escape in the hotel. It's really windy today, but it's been boiling, and I think I've got a bit of a tan line. There we go, just showing off the tan line. I'm good. I've
Yeah,
got
well, both you and Dan.
yes. Oh
Yeah,
yeah, Dan, you're
you've
actually
got
looking
your
quite brown. Actually, where are you somewhere
Dan is
or?
very tanned.
Well, I'm living in the south of France currently, Gail, so I've got an excuse. So yeah.
All right, fine. Okay, that's fine. I live in Milton Keynes, but it's all right. It's fine. You know, you might win that
But
one.
you know what? I lived in Northamptonshire for 4.5 years, and I
yeah.
loved Milton Keynes. So
that's quite a strong statement to say you love Milton
the shop
Keynes.
is the shopping set. You could get anything you wanted in Milton Keynes.
True. That is. We have the most Nando's per person in the UK as well. There we go.
Oh,
so
yeah,
if you
you're
ever need a
winning.
Nando's, Milton Keynes. There we go. So yes. No, I'm good. I'm loving the sunshine. It's needed. It's I've got a tournament coming up. I'm playing pickleball in Spain, in a place near Cadiz, this weekend. So I'm having a little bit of a relaxation before I'm back in tournament mode. So yeah.
Fantastic. Now, Gail, I have already warmed to you as I read that you were once a brand ambassador for Skoda, which is the dream machine that we happily use for our family. And also you're a big Spurs fan. Now, Dan is a big Man United fan. I did actually forget to rib him about this, but both obviously your red teams at the moment are in the shit right now, aren't they, Dan?
Yeah, you could say that, Daniel. Yeah, it's a bit of a struggle. My childhood, I've said this before on the pod, but my childhood as a United fan was exceptional. My adult life is leaving a little bit to be desired, but we'll move on. We'll leave the Spurs United result in the past, and we'll concentrate a little bit on Gail and what she's got to say rather than the Spurs.
Well, anytime you want to bring it up, we'll just bring it up. You know, we'll just mention it. So
we'll
fine.
Find a way. Now, you're in Mallorca playing pickleball. We'll come back to it in a bit more detail later. But how serious is this new endeavour in your life?
Well, it started as a bit of fun. And you see, the trouble is with ex-athletes is we don't do things by just fun. There's a little bit of element of competition comes in. It's like you don't lose that competitive streak. And about 5 or 6 weeks ago, I entered the National Singles Championships pickleball because I thought, I'm not doing anything that day. So I entered, and bearing in mind, I'm 47 years old. And I'm playing singles. Now, the good thing about pickleball is it's on the same size as badminton court, so I've got a little bit of knowledge there. And they went, oh, we haven't got enough people in your age group, so we put you with all the like 16, 17, 18-year-olds. And I was like, excuse me, what? And that was the problem. That was it. And I did the whole got in their heads and everything like that, and I ended up coming fourth. So what happened was the next few weeks has been a little bit. It's been incredible. I've suddenly been thrust into the limelight of pickleball, and I'm actually I'm quite liking it. It's a newfound joy, which I think is athletes, when you especially transition out of a sport, you lose a bit of yourself. You lose a little bit of light. You lose a little bit of that, whatever, the reason why you got into that sport. And for me, I've found something a little bit special. So yeah. Oh, look at me.
You retired. Yeah, it's amazing. You retired from professional badminton, I think, in 2008, and that's 17 years ago. Now you're back in the heat of battle, as you said, at 47. I mean, did you badly miss the bars, or what was it that drew you back, apart from the coincidence of the opportunity?
Do you know what? I think there's a combination of things, and yes, of course, you miss adrenaline, because adrenaline is a drug. It's something. It's addictive. When you're going out there for a match, you're representing the pressure. There's something really. It is really great. And then when you come out of it, you do other things. You find your way in life, and I've had a family and everything. But I missed joy, and that's joy of sport. I lost the what sport's really about. That you remember there's like the first time I held a badminton racket, or a first time I could do something, or a first time we went on the rugby pitch, or whatever it is. I lost that, and I couldn't find something. I'm rubbish at golf. I nearly swore there. I can't. People going out cycling and doing triathlons and stuff, and that's just not me. And I just, so I think for me, it's about finding my people again, finding a tribe, finding a place, finding something that, oh my God, I can actually, new friends, new something to learn, how awesome that I get to learn something again. So I think that's what it's been. So it's not the competitive side will be there, but it's more the other stuff, which I didn't realize I missed until now.
Gail, you just mentioned then about the first time picking up a badminton racket and things. Maybe take us back to the start, and what did the sport, I suppose, mean to you growing up? And was it an escape, ambition, identity, joy? What sort of was it about badminton that really sort of took
Yeah,
off for you?
it's a funny sport, isn't it? We've all played it in the back garden or whatever. But for me, it was because I was only 4 years old, but my mum played badminton as well. So we live around the corner from a badminton club. And got dragged down when my mum and dad were playing matches and stuff, and I sort of just got a little racket. I was like, I want to have a go, I want to have a go. And then because it was just around the corner from our house, it's like the 10,000 hours thing, it just became part of my childhood. But my mum was one of the first lionesses footballers. So my mum actually played for England. She actually played in the first ever Women's World Cup in 1971 in Mexico City. So my mum had this really incredible story about playing women's football when it was banned. So you couldn't play football. She grew up in Arsenal territory, but supported Spurs to annoy everyone. So that's why the Spurs connection. But my mum played at 19 years old. She played in the Azteca Stadium in Mexico City. She played in front of 90,000 people. And there's only ever 6 English people who have ever scored in the Azteca. Gary Lineker's top with 3. My mum's next with 2. So she is such an incredible role model. But when I came along, she didn't want to teach me any football because there was still no pathways for girls. So that's the badminton connection. And it became a battle between me and my mum. And that's how I grew. It was like, I'm going to get a point off mum. And then I got 1 point, then wanted 2 points and so on. And eventually, I think I was 12 when I actually beat her for the first time. Proudest day of my life. So that was it. And I think when it's ingrained in you, but it becomes normalized when you start at a young age, and when competition is fun, it's normalized, there's other people around, it was a community club. That was just it. You're hooked, aren't you? When when you see yourself get better and then you see that progression, that's why it's so important for kids. It's not just about going out and winning stuff. It's seeing progression, seeing you with your mates, you're doing something. I used to love Friday evenings and Sunday mornings, just holding my racket at the badminton club. That was just, that's what it was all about for me.
Gail, we should get your mum on as a guest.
Yeah.
I think.
Oh no, you don't.
Yeah, I was going to say. Oh really? It could be if she's half as entertaining as you, we'd be in for a treat. So
yeah, she's but her story's brilliant. Her story is so good. So we're and it's really lovely they're getting recognition now.
I'm assuming she was the one that sort of, as you've just mentioned, really sort of shaped you in those formative years in terms of, and was there any messages which maybe she delivered which stuck with you moving forward?
Yeah, that's a really interesting point, because there is all the role models and the vital times in your life. And I do remember, because as I beat her for the first time, there was that moment where I ran around there, yes, like this. My mum threw her racket, stormed off into a corner, and she sulked for about 2 months. And I said, right, come on, let's play again, let's play again, let's play again. And my mum actually turned around to me and she said, no, I'm not playing you anymore. That's it. And she said, there's no reason for you to play against me because you're too good. So she got other people from the club, better, whoever members. So I had to start all the way back at the bottom again. So that was one of the messages my mum taught me at that sort of teenage years, to climb that ladder. And it was really important as well to, and I say this a lot, that I lost over and over and over again. I was always, but what do I do next time? How do I beat them? How do I beat them? And then as soon as I beat that person, right, find someone new, start back at the bottom, up I go, that ladder. And that was what my mum was brilliant at. And it was all about losing isn't failing, losing is learning. And I think this is something so important with kids now. They think they can't do something. That's it. Oh, rubbish, I'm not doing this anymore. Or, I'm giving up. And it's like, no, that's part of the fun, and we've got to sort of get that back into sport. This quick fix, I'm amazing at it, therefore I will be great, it's not it doesn't work like that. They're the ones that stick at it, the stubborn ones. The ones are like, oh, I'm not giving up, I'm going to get better. They're the ones that are going to make it. So that was me, basically.
I love that. Just said there, saying losing isn't failing, it's learning. Well, Man United must be doing a lot of learning at the minute. So
I was going to add that in, but I just thought it was just too easy, isn't it? So, oh well.
I also love that sort of snakes and ladders analogy. Very sort of instructive, and every time you fail, you learn a lesson and you come up again. But can you remember the moment, the first time you truly believed you could be the best at something, that you were quite special at this?
I think the first time I sort of knew something could happen was when I met Nathan Robertson. And it's really interesting. And it'd be good to hear your views on this as well, about finding your team and your teammates. Sometimes there's people that you have no explanation about, right? You don't understand them, you don't get them, but when it happens, it clicks. And Dan's smiling, but it's true. There's something like a telepathy or a chemistry, and that's what it was like when I met Nathan. We didn't speak to each other. We grunted at each other. We didn't like each other, and we were England B standard when we first played our first tournament together at 15, and we went and beat everyone. And the coaches came over. They were like, "We would never put you two together. What the hell just happened?" Yeah. It was like he was my lobster. It was that I knew where he was. It was so, Dan, you might be able to say like sort of something similar, but sometimes you have those moments, don't you? And it's just, I know where they are. I know they're there, and I know, and you feel it. And that is something in sport. You can't. People try to analyze us. They try to, blah 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 blah. I would just let it happen. Nathan's a very genius maverick character. And then we won everything from 15 to 18. And then when we were 18, and we were the best in the country, best in Europe, one of the best in the world, and then juniors. And then at 18, they said to me, "Oh, we think the talent's all Nathan, not you, Gail. So we're going to put him with other people and put him on the pathway, and you're off." So I had to come back the other way to try and get back in. Which is always lovely, isn't it? We're telling, it's always great when you hear that from the head of British badminton. Well done, Gail. You've got some great results, but we're not going to fund you into the senior tournaments because Nathan's the talent and not you. You're like, thank you very much. So I have to prove them wrong, don't we? Hooray.
You have to prove them wrong. It's like a parent almost favoring their child or something. I mean, that must have been extraordinarily painful, and you must have had to show enormous resilience to fight back from that.
Then they were right to, and I've mentioned this a few times to people, and people go, "Oh God, that's so disgraceful." But you know what? It was so the right thing to do, because look what happened. What if I had been on that pathway then? Would I have done the stuff that I'd done? And this is the, you never know. And it gave me the kick up the backside that I needed, because maybe I had been a bit too cocky. Maybe I had been a bit like riding Nathan's talent, and maybe, that person's got every right. And this is the trouble in sport. You get subjective opinion, don't you? Someone's opinion can make a very different story on a sporting career, because it's someone's opinion. I don't like the way they play. I don't like their style. I don't like, I don't like the way they hold the racket. I wasn't very naturally talented. I was very, I just whacked it hard. But someone who didn't like it, why would they pick me? So, it's really interesting with sport, how that can make someone's journey become, a completely different one to what it should be.
It's really interesting that you mentioned this telepathic dynamic that you had with Nathan right from the get-go. It was a question, actually, I remember asking Dan when we first did a podcast together, and I've asked subsequent guests about these sorts of relationships, both on and off the field, which could be between two players. It could be between a coach and a player, even a parent and a player, or an owner and a manager, but where you can't quite explain it. But when you're in the same space as them, your mindset, your performance is just naturally elevated. But you kind of expressed it perfectly without even us having to ask. But I know, I'm sure Dan had those players in and around him. You've seen it, those kind of partnerships where you just have that extra 10% in the tank
Yeah.
when they were there alongside you.
It's really strange because sometimes if you force, and I'm sure, Dan was saying that they'll go, oh, I've got this best person from this, player, and you play with that person. And it's happened to me in team competitions where I've had to play the best from Denmark and they put us together in a match and it was awful. I was just like, oh my God, this is embarrassing. Like, he's not top 5 in the world, I'm top 5 in the world, and we couldn't play together. It's off, isn't it? It's like, and then you feel like you're cheating on your, and it's like, where's my Nathan? I can only play with Nathan. And it does feel like it's like an energy thing, isn't it? It's like, it feels really off. And there was only one person that I played with once I retired. I played a couple of matches in Denmark. I played with a guy called Carsten Mogensen, and it was the only other person that I had a good chemistry with. There was no one else, but not on the same level as Nathan.
I was going to say, Gail, and just in sort of quite a lot with players, but more so I had a coach in Northampton actually when I signed called Chris Boyd, and I was always a little bit of a, what's the best way to sum my my style of play up, let's say conservative, that very much did the basics really well, organized things, etc. And Chris Boyd was the guy who came into Northampton, was very much known for this expansive style of play, etc. And exactly like what you just said, Gail, about you and Nathan, you probably would never have put the two of you together, but myself and Chris, we met each other in Northampton, and we sat in the directors' lounge of Northampton's ground on a Friday night and just spent 2.5 hours in there just talking rugby. How does this player do that? How does this coach do that, etc. And from someone who you would have thought, right, well, he's quite a conservative player, to a really expansive coach, we sort of just bridged that gap in that 2.5 hours, and our relationship from there just got better and better and better. And even to this day, it's kind of like one of those relationships where, if he phoned me up and said, you fancy a coffee or a beer, I'd be there in an instant, type of thing. So it's funny how you are right. It's funny how those things just turn out.
But you need someone like that. I always call like the coach. Actually, he's here in Mallorca. I'm going to see him tonight. Actually, my old badminton coach, because he lives in Mallorca now. But I call Andy Wood, absolute genius coach. He was like our earthing plug. Does that make so? There was Nathan and I, so like a triangle. So you need that tension and that chemistry and spark within players. And I'm sure you've got loads of stories that you need that bit of, come on, let's do this, and I don't like that, but you do that. But you need someone for you to just like, earth. Yep. That's what I call it, earthing. And Andy was such person. Exactly what he did with you, Dan, right? He did with me, and he was like, right, I'm not going to make you be anyone else, going to make you the best you. And it was like music to my first time someone has said, he goes, so it's all right, Gail, I know you can't do those shots, we're not going to bother with them, we're just going to whack it really hard. And I was like, it's just how lovely. It's like music, isn't it? It's just freeing that a coach goes, I see you, I get you.
And what the biggest thing he said to me, and one of the best things he said to me was, he said, I want to focus on what you can do.
Yes.
And I said, I don't like, yes, clearly I want you to be better in certain areas, etc. Of course, as any coach would. But he was kind of really focused on, right, what are your strengths? Make sure you're world class at your super strengths. And I just thought that was brilliant in terms of combining the two. Yeah. So we had a good relationship, myself and Chris.
It's great, isn't it? Because it's like, if you put all your skills, I don't know if you ever did this, if you rated you analysed your game, passing, or fitness, whatever, out of 0 to 10. So if you do that, and this is in life as well. So there will be some that you'll have the 8s, 9s, 10s, right, in life, and then there'll be some around the 5s, 6s, and there'll be some around the 2s and 3s, right? And Andy went, we are just going to not do anything with those 2s and 3s because you'll never be good. You might get them to a 4. You'll be stressing about it. What's the point? If we get those 6s and 7s, 5s and 6s up to 8s, 7s and 8s, how much is that going to lift you? And it was, again, the first time, like, there was nothing worse as an athlete, is there? Like, coming in the morning for training, like, you are rubbish at this, we're going to just do 2 hours of you just doing what you're rubbish at. And you're like, yay, this is fun, isn't it? It's awful, isn't it? It's just like a reminder of like what your weaknesses are. So the first time a coach is like, you know what, scrap that, let's do the stuff you're good at. And I'm like, yes, this is brilliant. And yeah, it elevates your game. It makes you you're just happier, aren't you? And then you end up getting better at your weaker stuff because you're not stressed about it. So, yeah.
And not without you really knowing as well, isn't it?
Exactly. It's like, they're got in your heart. Yeah, they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gail, I wanted to ask, was there a moment you've mentioned about all the sort of the playing with your mum in the garden and beating her and then beating, some of the next level players, etc. Was there a moment where badminton stopped being a passion and started feeling like a real pressure and a monkey on your back type of thing?
Yeah, it didn't hit me until later though. I think it was after the Olympics. So after I'd won stuff, then it started becoming, oh gosh, because badminton's a minority sport. Suddenly you get thrust into the spotlight. And, after Athens, we had 6 million people watch our final in Athens, which is like unheard of. It's just because nothing else was going on. And then everyone was like, yay, thank you.
Yeah.
But it was like, oh my God, we're in the badminton. And then, BBC were like, okay, quick, badminton experts. And so I think because of that, then suddenly, for someone who's not in the spotlight or someone just gets along with it, and then suddenly your name's out there, you're on TV shows and you're doing this, and you're like, that's when the pressure. And then it was like you had badminton wanted you to promote the sport, you had sponsors coming in and they wanted you to do all this sort of stuff, and I was trying to still play badminton at the same time, still had my own personal expectations, still tournaments that I wanted to win. It was ridiculous. And that was when it was like, this isn't fun, this is a job. And that is so horrible, isn't it? It's like, this is me, because you have to put you are you on that court or the pitch. You have to give yourself. You've got to give everything. It's part of you. You give it, and then you're just like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? You start questioning everything. You're tired. The tiredness. And you can't moan, can you? Because like, you're living the dream. You're going across around the world playing your sport. You can't moan about it. You're like, I'm really tired and I hate everything about everything. And you cannot say anything. And then your family put you on a pedestal, and your family are like, oh, well, Gail's doing this. You're like, Mom, I want a hug. You can't say anything. And yeah, so those last few years were a slog. And I hate saying it. But you have to be honest and say it was survival at times. It was just, I'm going to just get through it, and then I don't know. The only good thing about it was I never had to suffer with any physical injuries, so that's the only, I think that's why I got it through it, just about.
So what parts, Gail, of the Olympic experience do people really misunderstand or overlook when they sort of talk to you about it now?
It's funny because the Olympics, you're funded, so you've got £5 million being funded on you for once in a 4-year competition, right? Now, anything can happen in sport, as we know, right? So you've got all this thing on riding on one tournament. And if for anything, you might be sick the night before, you might be, I don't know, anything, you might be slightly injured. If you do not achieve that medal, your whole sport cuts. It's fun, isn't it? When you put it like that, that is what it's like. And if you do not win, there is no more funding. There is no more, you are, we came 5th in Beijing. So 5th in the world, right? We were outcasts. So like, you didn't win though, did you? You didn't win a medal. So that's it. You're gone. Imagine that. So yeah, that's how brutal it is with Olympic sport. That once, like I say, anything can happen. We had the worst draw in Beijing. We beat the gold medal favourites, and then we ended up losing to the winners in the quarterfinals. But yeah, if we'd had a different draw, who knows? But that was it. So that's why it's quite hard to try and tell people the reality of it. It's just why I do that one tournament every 4 years.
What would you say that success in elite sport cost you then in the round, emotionally, physically, personally?
It costs me. That's a really good. I've not been asked that actually before. What did it cost me? It cost me. You have to lose. You lose. I lost a bit of myself. Definitely, I lost who I was. I lost my sense of why I did this sport. I lost the joy. I lost the spark. And that's sad because, the reason why I started playing it, the reason why I held that badminton racket, the wanted to improve, to challenge everything. And then suddenly joy is lost. You know, I found it hard to smile. So yeah, that's what it cost me. It cost me a part of that fire of my soul. Which I think it was just sad because I think
Can
if
you
I'd have kept
unpack that
that,
a little more when you?
oh, sorry, go on.
Go ahead, Gail. Sorry.
Oh no, I just it's that.
I
I think
go.
I think it's more. How do I say it? Sorry, I'm not. It's like a feeling. It's like like if you're like that fire, like what makes you motivated, that smile when you get up and you're having a laugh when you're training and like, oh, that was a bad shot, you're like, man, I know, that sort of thing. And it wasn't like that. There was no joy. Everything was so serious. Everything was like, okay, we must do this, must hit that, must by that. Everything became that's not what sport's about. And I think the more professional sport got, the more you lose that side of you, and you become numb. You have to numb out. I actually numbed out quite a bit, if that makes sense. So I just had to, even though I was scared, felt sad, or I felt under pressure. I just had to numb out. So I lost a lot of emotion towards it. Yeah, sad. I don't like it.
Gail, yeah, it does. I know what you feel. Once that fire goes, it really is. It's a battle, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not even a job then, because you're having, because with most other people's jobs, or a lot of people's jobs, you can go into the office or you can just go about your day-to-day job quietly. But with a sports person, you get found out pretty quickly if you don't put that work in, and if you're 5% less than someone you're playing, it's going to show. And I can resonate to that completely in throughout times in my career. What I wanted to pick up on was you've spoken about obviously how tough things were, maybe off the back of Athens, but just talk us through how amazing that was, though, that feeling in terms of how, like you said, 6 million people watching the program, watching the sport. And it was a bit of rare success for Britain at that point, wasn't it, as well? So how I mean, give us a bit of a really positive overview on what it did for you as a person off the back of it.
I think for me, as an a minority sport, and the Olympics is, in my view, the greatest sporting event in the world. The history of it, the whole, I think I'm one of 6,000 people who have ever represented Great Britain at an Olympic Games, and I'm one of 600 who have ever won a medal. So when you look at those stats and you look back at all the things that you've overcome, and your sport got its spotlight, you had 6 million people, and it's the appreciation. I think there's something about being appreciated for the hard work that you do. You're lucky you get, lots of people to in the crowds, and, sort of that club system. We don't have that in badminton. Most of our stuff is done in a green sports hall that stinks, and no one knows, no one cares, no one, and if I said it in, I'm out in a bar or whatever, and say, what do you do? I say, I play badminton. They go, it was just that patronizing thing. And if the first time people were proud, oh, you're that badminton girl, oh, that was awesome, oh, that was great, and you're like, thank you, because that's what it's just to say, I am doing it, and I and I think that's what was the biggest thing from Athens. And talking on the doing the TV shows and everything, that's just that was great fun, but it was more the appreciation that people recognized the hard work.
I was going to say, it's very much like sort of, you couldn't buy a badminton racket after the Olympics, could you? And it's very much like, a little bit like, I don't know if you got the Ashes in 2005, where cricket became, you couldn't go into Toys R Us and buy a cricket set for your kids and anything like that. So that must make you feel, like you said, that must be a really amazing feeling for something a lot smaller on the global scale than cricket, football, rugby, etc.
Yeah, and that's it. The sport that you love as well, that you just think people are going to do it, and and that again is that the reason why you do the sport. I mean, I had so many letters from people. I think I had 2 sackfuls of letters that people wrote to me, and they're like, "You've made me take up badminton again. I watched you. I'm going to start playing badminton. they're just like, you know, kids drawing pictures of you, you know, like at school, and they're like, oh, you're my favorite Olympian, and you're like, stop it. But that's it. You forget about, you know what it's like. You forget all that stuff. You get so bogged down with all the other stuff, and you're training, you're doing this, you're doing that you forget that actually you're inspiring people, and everyone's got their, you know, someone watched you and had a really big moment, and they were like, oh my God, I'm going to start playing badminton again. That's why we need reminding about that stuff, and the Olympics is a great way of doing that. And I think, yeah, that for me was like, again, I'm doing the right thing. I've got my purpose. This is why I'm doing it.
Yeah, amazing.
I mean, we've experienced some of the yo-yo emotion of being an elite sportsman, but you said at one point that you wondered whether you even wished you'd never been a professional sportswoman. Do you still feel that way sometimes, or has that shifted, just to anchor ourselves in the present?
Massively shifted, but I will admit there was a time I was thinking, what was the point? Why was it all worth it? Because it was such a dip from it. But I think there's this great quote that I read recently, and it said, the more I heal, the less ambitious I feel. And that was really interesting. And that just when I'm in a really good place now. I've had to do some work. Don't get me wrong, it doesn't come easy. I talked to a life coach recently, and we talked. She's the only person who knows my whole story, my whole childhood, my whole background, everything. And it was the first time I felt peace. And I thought, oh, why didn't I do this earlier? And it was just because I haven't allowed myself to go through some of the emotions that I did. I didn't go to some places that you have to go to, some dark places when you're an athlete. You do. You have to dig yourself out of some holes when you are there, because that's what makes you stronger. And it was the first time that, you know, I had gone through the emotions, like, oh, why did I bother? Blah, 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 you know, and I felt anger, I felt frustration. And it was all just because I hadn't processed everything. I hadn't been there and talked about it and actually like reflected and said, oh my God, I did all right. I didn't give myself any kindness. Typical athlete, you know, it's always like, oh, I could have done that better. I could have done this better. I should have done that. You know, there was always that in my mind. I was always fighting. And it's the first time now that I don't fight. And I don't feel any fight at all. And it's so lovely that I can actually look back and I can have these conversations, say, I feel happy. I feel at peace. So yeah, it's been a roller coaster, but I had to go through it, I think. You know, annoyingly. I don't know, I really wish I hadn't, but you know, in a way. But you know, you have to do it to like, because I feel actually really good now. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you've spoken a lot about that post-retirement crash. I mean, just unpack a little more. What was the hardest part of the transition?
The hardest part was, for me, it was my ego. So in sport, especially in ladies, as a lady in mixed doubles, you need to be, you know, quite like, yeah, whatever, like that. You know, you have to be very much in that sort of mindset. I have to be very much in my masculine energy, very red, fighty person. So when I came out of it, I didn't know who else to be other than that default mode. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to get a job, I'm going to rule the world. And then it doesn't happen. You know, typical, like I didn't actually practice what I preach, you know, and there I am telling about my mum saying losing isn't failing, it's learning. I forgot all of that. And I was like, I'm failing, I'm rubbish. And I went into this victim mode. And that's what it was like. And I went into poor me. What is the point? Why am I doing this? And what happens when you're in that state of mind is you get blinkered, and you suddenly only see this like one way. And I was fight. I don't need anyone. I can do this. And then it got so far down the line, I was in trouble because I thought I could do everything, and I'm like, and it wasn't. And I hold my hands up. You know, I just didn't know what else to do. And that's why, you know, I can reflect on it now, and you know why you did. I know why I did it, but it was just no one around to help you. In Olympic sports, you are on a conveyor belt, and once you're finished, you are off, and that's it. You know, next one come along.
I saw an interview that you did, I think it was in The Guardian, and it resonated really strongly with me, because you said you know where you rate in badminton.
Yep.
You're a gold medalist, silver medalist, bronze medalist, fourth, fifth, whatever, number one in the world, two, whatever. But when you go into the real world, and I say the real world, which is what everybody else is kind of in, it feels you kind of you don't really know where you are until you're in it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? And that's I'm finishing up at the end of this season, and we've spoken a little bit about on the pod with previous guests, and I think that's kind of the thing. Really, you kind of go from being this person who's held there to maybe having to be held a fraction lower, being an ex-player and things. So that I felt like that was something that really resonated with me.
It's the most scary thing, not to scare you too much, Dan, but it is, and that's because it's the processing. We know where we are, and it's a controlled environment sport, and we know where our place is, we know our purpose, we know what we have to do, and then you come out of that, and suddenly it's like, and I mean this in the loveliest, but no one cared that I was world champion in badminton. They didn't care. They were like, "Well, have you got a marketing degree?" And I was like, "No, but I can hit a shuttle over a net," like that. And it was just, and this was the shock, because it'd been such a big thing of my life, and I felt this is the greatest purpose in the world. And then suddenly you're going and having these meetings, and they don't care. And I don't blame them for not caring, but that's what I had to deal with, and that's where and I'm sure you'll have some great people around you to help you with that, because that's the thing that gets your brain. Like it's the ego side, and you're like, and you will succeed, you will be awesome, because even as an athlete, even if you've got to start, okay, you've been here, but you've got to start there, you'll be like, yeah, come on, smash this, and you'll get back up there. But I just needed that chance there, but I just couldn't find anything or anywhere to get there. And that's when, and then I started just getting that blinkers, and then I was like in trouble.
Is there anything that you wish somebody had told you the day that you retired?
You will never ever replicate the feeling of being a sports person. And I don't know if I have been trying to find it, and that's why that quote came in really well, was like, the more I heal, the less ambitious I feel, because I was searching for another badminton, another purpose, you will never ever find it. You will never feel the same way as you feel running onto that pitch, and it's okay. It's okay. No, I know. I'm still joking, but it has.
Gail.
But I think that's the most important thing, is that you've got to just understand it will never be the same, and it's okay. You will find joy in other things and other stuff, and there'll be a different feelings of it. But I think for me, I was so trying to replicate a purpose, to be queen of something again. And then it didn't, then it didn't happen. And it was just like,
Dan, I think what you're experiencing now is it's like Man United. You lived your career through the glory years. I think you were going to elevate yourself out of this, but you're just you're just going through a little Ruben Amorim edge at the moment, where is that sort of sense of a lack of identity, culture. Where are you going to go next? Complete disjointed disorganization. What the hell's going on? All these noises in your head. But I think I'm confident that you're going to bounce back.
I'm glad you are, Daniel.
I was gonna say,
I don't think you're gonna do it. I know, it's a bit awkward.
I'm glad you went. I was just about to say, I'm glad you went down that route, Daniel. I thought, I didn't know where this was gonna. Yeah. I didn't know where you were going with it for a minute, but maybe I'll get it. Maybe I'll get into like pickleball, like Gail or something. Maybe I'll find a purpose about with that sort of thing.
Yeah, you'll be fine, Daniel. Yeah. Like I say, you'll get your just good team of people around, and just try. Don't put pressure on yourself. Just like again, sort of find you. Everyone thinks about coaching, and I tried coaching. I was rubbish. I was absolute rubbish coach. So I just know that wasn't for me. And it's okay. Just who knows? But it's exciting. Yeah, it's exciting. And there's also pickleball.
Well, just on the pickleball subject, I mean, has discovering pickleball helped you really reconnect with your identity as an athlete, but really kind of on your terms this time? You rediscovering the joy of playing sport as a kid with no pressure.
Yeah, totally. And I know it's so. I feel quite childish talking about it. It's like I found my joy. It feels quite but it's so true. And I think that's what's that's the beauty of it. And I think because my journey with badminton and my transition that I lost that fire and I lost part of myself, I lost a soul or whatever. And this is the importance about sport again, like finding and Dan, for you, it's going to be your identity and your identity for you. And I think it's been quite overwhelming that I've been thrust into the pickleball limelight, as you do. But I feel like I've got a purpose. I want to promote the sport. I want to, sort of encourage young people to get involved. I want to get the marketing and PR side of it going. I want to, it's been great, and I'm actually getting quite good. So I think that's a nice feeling to have, and I don't feel. I mean, I'm old enough to be some of their nanas at some of these tournaments I'm playing, and it's just a little bit embarrassing, but. I've been picked for this Premier Paddle thing. I'm playing in Spain. It's all so exciting, and I think I found it at the right time, and I think that's what's really lovely. And knowing that they were sort of embracing me a little bit. They were a bit suspicious of me as well, but the fact they like sort of giving me a chance just shows that. Yeah, there's I'm finding my people again. Yeah.
Amazing. Gail, what does success look like to you now? How different is that from your competitive days?
Success is completely changed. I mean, success, it's just sometimes it's just getting my kids to school on the time. Sometimes that can be success, and I think that's the most important thing. And someone said to me, a really good coach said to me, find your number. And he said, don't always try for it to be 100 all the time, because it will never, ever happen. But just find your number, and every day will be a different number. But whatever number feels good on that day. So don't always try, I've got to be the best every single day. So some days it might be a 75, it might be a 50, but that is a success. If you get through the day and you've like, do you know what? I've done my 50 today. I've got my kids are happy. My friends, I've done this, I've done that. It's a good day. That to me is really important, because I put so much pressure on myself as an athlete that I had to hit these numbers. I had to be this, I had to be that. And that is right in elite sport, but it doesn't work in real life. You cannot be 90 or 100 in real life. It's just impossible. And just as it is as an athlete, it's impossible to be 100 anyway, but it gives you permission to be human. And I think that's what's really, that's what I see as success now, is like, being kind to myself and having just generally, that's success.
Yeah, was there any emotional resistance to I suppose competing again, in terms of fear of falling into old patterns and doubts, etc.? Was there any of those feelings?
Yeah, I've developed I've got anxiety dreams back. Like, it's really funny. So it's mad. Like, it's your brain is trying to process it again. And the worst is, like, when I was playing badminton, I'd dream about badminton in my sleep, and my arm would like twitch. Like, so I'm playing a shot. Did that on the flight this morning. I had a little nap. This poor woman next to me, I was dreaming about pickleball, and I bloody gave her a might smack in the face because my arm went, and she was like that. So it's amazing how your brain has gone into and your body naturally goes back into that. So that's going to be interesting how those anxiety dreams have come back. I started biting my lip again, which I've noticed. Yeah, but all those little things like you forget. I've been picking my nails and little things. So yeah, it's weird, isn't it? How that's.
Was there anything when you were playing, when you were really competing, sort of, if you go back to say 2004, was there any traits that you had when you were nervous and when you were really anxious and things like that?
I had a few states of nervousness. I used to forget to breathe. So sometimes when I was knocking up with Nathan, I'd actually hyperventilate and nearly faint. So breathing was one. And the other one was I'd get so nervous, I'd have a bit of a narcolepsy. So I'd fall asleep. Have you ever had that, where you've been so nervous and then suddenly you're like,
really?
You're so tired. And I've gone, I just want to sleep. You've not had that? No.
I have not had that. No, I haven't.
That was my two extremes. I'd either wouldn't breathe, or I'd be so nervous. Like, my coach would find me in a corner and I'd be yawning and I'd just be like, I just want to sleep. So yeah.
Really?
And it's just your body's responding to all the adrenaline and everything. So I think, what I learned about nerves is like, don't fight them. Just, you have to ride it out. Your body's good. It's a natural process.
Nerves are good. Nerves are good.
Means to care. Exactly. So if you're nervous, that means your opponents are nervous, I hope.
Exactly. Gail, we've prepped a few sort of quicker fire questions in for you. Are you happy to reel off a couple? Yeah, let's go for it. Okay. Olympic medal or the world title? Which one meant
Olympic
more
medal.
in the moment?
Olympic medal, because it's the Olympics in history. Yeah, for me. Although Nathan says world title.
What's harder, losing a final or walking away from the sport you love?
Oh, walking away. Walking away is harder, definitely. You can always get to another final.
And what's the most underrated thing about badminton?
It's the fastest moving thing in sport. That shuttle is 265 miles an hour, faster than a Formula One car. There we go. I used to smash that shuttle up faster than Andy Murray can serve in tennis. There we go.
Blimey.
There we are.
Okay. If you could play doubles with anyone, and you can interpret that as you wish, it doesn't have to be like another badminton player, and they can be living or dead in any walk of life, who would it be?
I'd definitely go for someone like a Federer, Roger Federer, because I think that would be interesting to see, or a Nadal. I think those, Nadal or Federer, I think that would be a really, really thing. But Andre Agassi is playing pickleball, so maybe I might get a chance to play pickleball with Andre Agassi.
Yeah, exactly. That could be the new chemistry later in life from Nathan
Move
to,
over, Steffi
to
Graf.
Andre.
Emms is in the house.
Yeah, get out the way, Steffi. Exactly. Guilty pleasure when no one's watching.
I'm a raver.
Are you?
Yeah, I love my rave. I love my raves. I love house music. So I will be at their rave. I'm a cheesy quaver. So Eric Prydz, Camel Fat, there I'll be in the fields raving.
If your 15-year-old self could see you now, what would she say?
Oh God. I think she'd be proud. I think my 15-year-old self was very, my circumstances or anything, see that I what I've accomplished and where I am, I think she'd be proud. Which is a lovely thing to say.
I'm just gonna pitch in with two quick ones to finish. Gail, I want to know if you could describe yourself on court in one word and off court in one word, what would those two words be?
Weirdly, I asked my boys this the other day, and they said chaotic, spontaneous, funny, and energetic. I think were the words they used, and I think that would sum me up as on the court. It was very lot of enthusiasm. There was chaos there, but it was just this huge bundle of energy, and I think I was definitely me on court than I am off now as well. So yeah, there's a little bit of chaos. Who knows what's going to happen, but
love it.
Yeah, that kind of thing.
And I've asked every guest that's come on this, Gail, I'd be really interested to get your answer. If you could go to any sporting event in the world, whether it's Monaco Grand Prix, the Super Bowl, etc., what would it be? Oh, there we are. Well, you've probably done a few.
Quite a few of them, to be honest. There was a question the other day, and I think I haven't done any of the American sports. I haven't done Super Bowl, but I'm not really an American sport fan, so I don't think what's the point. Probably the Masters, I think, golf. I think it's so iconic. It's so beautiful. I think it's just, you see it on TV. I think it would be, one of those moments where you just want to just make sure it's real, like touch the grass or whatever. Are you allowed to touch the grass? I don't know. I would be touching the grass. So yeah, I think Masters for me. I think that's so iconic.
Yeah, that is one of my plans for retirement next year. If I can get a pass off my wife and leave my two boys at home, that is the plan.
I think you deserve it. I think, just sort of just mention, you need to help you get through the transition. Oh dear. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. No.
Well, it's perfect because you can say you need to go to have a mobile detox. There are no mobiles allowed. I need to go somewhere quiet where it's green, where I can turn everything off and just focus on myself. And
Exactly.
Yeah, you help. If you can keep adding some positivity to this, Mrs. Biggar may well give a pass by the end of this series.
He deserves it. He needs it.
There we go.
Gail, thank you so much.
I'll
thank you first. Thank you so much for being with us. It's been wonderful.
No worries. Thank you very much. And we'll have to get you on a pickleball court then. So if that's if your knees are still holding out.
That is the plan. You've been, honestly, Gail, you've been absolutely wonderful. You've been so much fun and insightful. And I can guarantee you that I was one of those 6 million people watching in 2004. So you've been an absolute blast. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Well, that was a lot of fun, I thought, Dan. I think Gail definitely wins the award for the best dressed guest that we've ever had in her sort of silver cocktail dress, had DJ headset on, can of Estrella, chilling out on a lounger in Mallorca. Who can compete with that?
I think that should be the norm from now on, Daniel. I think, dressed to the nines, kind of Estrella, I think she said it got warm by the end as well. So fair play to her for having a sip of it. But she, do you know what? She was great fun, wasn't she? She was really insightful and like honest as well. Like, she wasn't afraid to sort of say, yeah, she had some huge success and she was, riding that wave for a little bit. But, time waits for no one really, do they? And it's the next one off the conveyor belt, and she sort of felt that harder than most people. And I also really liked, I love the fact that her and Nathan didn't really, they didn't really get on at the start, you know what I mean? And it wasn't like they were absolute besties and things like that, but they had a similar work ethic and they just worked off each other somehow. So I think that was important, because you think of all the great sportsmen and teams and partnerships, you quite often think that they're all like best friends and socializing and know each other really well, and quite often it's the opposite, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, she obviously there was just this natural, immediate sort of telepathy, which was inexplicable in a way, although initially I suppose they weren't natural partners. But she reminded me how brutal and ruthless Olympic sport can be. As she said, you go through these 4-year cycles. And I think when we interviewed Andrew Steele as well, if you remember, all that while ago, and they came fourth. He came fourth initially, but then his medal got upgraded to bronze after the Chinese doping scandal, or the Chinese or the Russians, but one way or the other. But you don't win a medal, you just get dropped off, your funding disappears, no one's interested, and that's very difficult mountains to climb. It's not like in your world where you can bounce back after a defeat and go again. It's very zero-sum game.
Yeah, it's kind of like what summed up to me is that you could just, like you said, you could get ill the night before, she said, you know what I mean? And that's 4 years work down the drain in that sense, and the funding and everything that goes with it. But no, she was really good. I really enjoyed it. And I love the quote that she said in that interview about you kind of, your place in sport and in badminton and things like that. And in real life, you have to find it. And that's what a lot of the guests have sort of said afterwards, that after their retirement and after their playing careers, that it is a struggle and it's not easy. And I think the more we speak to people like Gail and people who've gone through that, it's only going to help people. And I hope that people can resonate to that as well.
Absolutely. Well, in the spirit of letting you go and enjoy some sunshine, and for the benefit of saving my wonky Wi-Fi connection this evening, let's leave it on that note. And we'll see you very soon.
Thanks, Daniel. And just a reminder to everyone to keep subscribing, keep giving us a comment. We really appreciate the support, and you know where to find us.
Brilliant. Yes, don't forget that. Take care.